Targets identified. Slayer prepped for launch.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into Doom: The Dark Ages, the latest entry in the iconic Doom franchise. I just finished the entire campaign on Xbox Series X, and for the first time I didn't have to buy a Doom game because it dropped on Game Pass day one. Now don't get me wrong, it's still Doom and it's still fun, but it's got some pretty glaring issues, and while the core gameplay is intact, this is easily the weakest in the modern Doom trilogy. Let's break it all down. Let's start with the story, and to be honest, this is one of the weakest aspects of the Dark Ages game. This game takes a more fantasy-heavy mythological route, stepping away from the high-tech cyber hell mashup of 2016 and Doom Eternal. Here, the Slayer's journey is deeply rooted in medieval inspired realms with dragons, ancient orders, hell priests, and demonic lore that feels almost Dark Souls adjacent. The setup is that you're essentially the weapon of the Holy War trying to stop an apocalyptic demon invasion that stretches across realms. The Slayer is more of a knight figure this time around, a legend of prophecy, fighting not just with guns, but with maces and all kinds of other stuff that go into this myth. While that sounds cool on paper, it really doesn't hit emotionally or narratively. The cutscenes are overly long, the lore is dense and not particularly gripping, and honestly the story just gets in the way of what we're actually here for, and that's the gameplay. And even though the voice acting is fine, I didn't care about a single character. It's the most whatever Doom story so far, and I much would have rather preferred how they did the other two Doom stories. Now let's talk gameplay, because this is where Doom usually shines, and to be fair, the combat here is still fun, but it comes with a lot of caveats. The big new mechanic this time is the shield. Instead of just blasting demons with pure speed and aggression, you now have time to block and parry. And yeah, at first it's pretty satisfying, but out of 22 missions, parrying an enemy and following up with a brutal counterattack kinda gets old really quick, and kinda fast. Every modern action game these days seems to have a parry system, and Doom's version feels repetitive after a while. Like I said, with there being 22 missions, many of which are long and full of wave-based encounters that test your stamina more than your skill, by the time I was in the second half of the game, I was over the shield unless I absolutely had to use it during boss fights, or whenever you see that little green icon shoot up. One of the most surprising changes in Doom: The Dark Ages is the shift towards an open zone structure. So instead of a tight linear level with a little bit of open zone, like Doom Eternal for example, the game now offers large semi-open environments. You explore, you find side areas, uncover secrets, gather collectibles like gold, shards, and amulets to upgrade your gear. And once again, on paper, this sounds awesome, but in execution, it's kind of a mixed bag. There's some satisfaction in finding hidden upgrades and exploring the world, but it drastically slows the game's pace. Certain missions, especially the dragon-focused ones, can take nearly an hour if you're trying to complete every single little thing on the map. I started to feel the fatigue around mission 10 or so. Now, I'm not going to take off any points for this though, because this was my choice, but I just wanted to add in that the pacing isn't that engaging compared to the other two games. Weapon-wise, this game still gives you a decent arsenal, but it feels like a step back once again in how dynamic it is. In Eternal, every demon had a weakness, which forced you to switch weapons constantly. It created a rhythm. But in the Dark Ages, I stuck with a couple of weapons the entire time, and once I unlocked the Ravager, which is my favorite weapon, the upgraded version of the Skull Cannon, I barely touched anything else. And that's kind of a problem for me because Doom combat thrives on variety. Here it felt like I could coast with the same loadout for entire missions unless I made the conscious effort to switch things up. Also, the mech sequences, they are absolutely a highlight. You only get to use it about 2 or 3 times, but when you do, it is awesome. Blasting giant demons with stomping grounds like a metal titan was pure joy. Felt like Gypsy Danger out there. Same goes for the Dragonflight sequences. While a bit long, like I said before, they at least tried something new, and it was kind of fun. And now, we come to the technical issues, because yes, for me, Doom the Dark Ages is buggy. Even after patches, I still ran into frequent stutters when exiting the map screen. Weird mission select freezes where I had to click the mission 5 or 6 times for it to actually go on. Lines of dialogue messing up, but I played on a Series X. This wasn't game breaking, but it didn't feel as polished as Eternal or even 2016 because, at least from what I remember, had no bugs in those. Now, I can't believe I'm actually saying this about a Doom game, but the soundtrack is also a letdown. It feels like I'm talking nothing but bad about this game. Mick Gordon's absence is painfully obvious. There's no adrenaline pumping, demon melting music like before. The music feels flat, background noise if you would. And the mix is so low by default that you have to go into the menu just to hear it properly, and that pretty much says everything. They got other composers who did a serviceable job, and it's not bad, but there's no identity here. There's no rip and tear. No, the only thing they fear is you. It's just music. And for Doom, that's a massive blow. So, where does this leave us? Well, Doom the Dark Ages is not a bad game, it's just mostly disappointing. It experiments with new ideas, and I'll give it credit for that. The mech fights, the dragon riding, the fantasy setting, and once again, the gameplay is still good. But the core experience of Doom, that mix of speed, aggression, gunplay, and music, just isn't here in the same way. You've got clunkier gameplay, which was on purpose so you could speed that up, a forgettable story, bugs, repetitive shield mechanics, and a seriously underwhelming soundtrack. And so for me, just mentally, because I don't hate this game, if Doom Eternal is a 10, 2016 is a 9.5 for me, I'd say Doom the Dark Ages is sitting at a 7.5, maybe a flat 7, depending on how much of the bugs bother you. But it's worth playing since it's on Game Pass. But if you're a longtime fan like me, it might leave you wanting more. Anyways, that's my review, guys. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the Dark Ages. Did you love the new direction, or did it miss the mark for you too? And where does it rank for you in the modern Doom trilogy? For me, it's easily the last, but hey, that's me. If you liked the video, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay bloody, stay brutal.
Payment required.